Hello everyone, this is Stephanie. Welcome to another video. So today we're going to work on the Spring Rain bracelet, which can go with the pendant and the earrings, but you already have videos for. You can even use the Aurora pieces with this. So I'm making a bridal set, so I have used my Triad necklace to make this a little more fancy. The original video has, I think, has a twisted herringbone chain. So I'm just, I'm kind of zhuzhing it up a little bit. So here's the bracelet. Absolutely adore these stones, and these are Eureka crystal beads, Krakowski, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, stones, fancy stones, and they're stunning. Look how beautiful they are. Absolutely gorgeous. All right, so you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to move all this and I'm going to launch right into a materials list so we can just get started on this. All right, so here we go. Pull out a teeny bit. So you need the 10 by 14 millimeter fancy stone in a pear shape. And as I said, I'm using Eureka crystal beads, fancy stone, but you can use a Swarovski. That works just as well. So here I'm using this, look at this gorgeous color, this pink opal. I think it's called rosewater opal. Look how gorgeous that is. So pretty, so gorgeous. Love, love, love. I'll be using the white one in the video, the opal, white opal. But I just didn't have any more to put out, so I put these out. Here's this little delica. I will put the colors to all three bracelets in the description box below the video. So I have two colors of delicas. I have a pinkish one to go with the rose stone and a gold, so I'm alternating my colors. An 15-0 seed bead, 11-0 seed bead, 4 millimeter pearls, 3 millimeter pearls. I've got a toggle clasp here and a few jump rings, a size 10 beading needle. Here's a stop bead. I have 8-pound Fireline black satin. I think that's it. So don't forget the No More Oops bead tray and the RingBerries mat. For this big, huge mat I put everything on, I have a coupon code, Bronzepony10. You'll get 10% off your mat, and she will cut them to the size you like, which is great. So again, everything will be in the description box below the video. Sizes for all three colors, sizes, amounts, everything you need, places to purchase beads if you need it. Don't forget to please like and subscribe if you enjoy my videos, and ring the bell so you get notified every time I upload. All right, so let's clear this off and we'll get started. Okay, let's get started. So thread your needle with about 30 inches of thread, put on a stop bead, and leave about a 12-inch tail. So I've picked up and dropped down to my stop bead 30 of my delicas, and I have alternated the colors. I started with the white, gold, and so on until I had 30 on. Now, you don't have to do alternating colors. I just think it looks pretty. And when you're done with the bracelet, it kind of gives the illusion, especially if you use the same color delica as your stone or very similar color, it gives the illusion that you have a really big stone in there when you don't, because the blue looks like part of the stone. So I kind of like that, but you can certainly do this any way you like. So I have all my 30 on. Let me see if I can clear that up a little bit. Come on, you guys. Let me move this so the camera doesn't try to focus on. There we go. Okay. Now, you're going to sew those into a circle by sewing through the first bead after your stop bead. So that's going to be my white bead, like that. And then I'm just going to pick up my gold bead, and I'm just going to, I'm exiting the white one, going to skip the gold one and sew through the white one. That's going to pop on top of the previous gold, like that. Now the fun thing about, let me pop that over, there we go. The fun thing about alternating is that you don't even have to say, say to yourself, skip one, sew through the next one. All you have to do, once you get that, let me pop that into place better. These are all the little things that happen when you start a bezel, so I'm going to leave them in. So get over there. There we go. Okay. So all you have to do is pick up your gold bead and sew through the white bead. Like that. So once you get the first couple on and locked into place, it's very easy. So picking up a gold, sewing through the white, picking up a gold, sewing through the white. Just going to do that all the way down to get to the end, and then meet me there and we'll step up. Coming down to the end, I have a couple of beads to put on. So here's one, and then I'm going to step up. So picking up my last gold bead, I'm going to skip this one, and I'm going to sew through the white one and then the gold one on the diagonal. There we go. Now I'm just going to add a row of white. So I'm just exiting this one. You're just going to pick up a white bead and sew through every sticking out gold bead. Just like that. Okay, so get that done to the end, and then come back and we'll step up. Okay, we're coming down to the end. So I have a couple beads to put on. So there's my one, and now here I'm going to step up. And you know, as you're doing this, you can pull a little bit. Just hold your thumb there though. You don't want it, you know, super tight. It's going to curve. All right, so here's my last white bead. I'm going to flatten mine out so you can see what I'm doing. So here I'm exiting this gold bead. I'm going to sew through this gold one and then the one on the diagonal, which is the white one. So that's the sticking out bead and the one on the diagonal. It's going to step me up like that. And then what I like to do is hold it on my finger like this. And I just give it a little pull. All right. And then what we're going to do is add some 15-ohs. So you're going to pick up a 15-oh and you're going to sew through the next white sticking out bead. Next one. And I'm pulling inward a little bit as I go around. Not super, again, I'm not going to, you know, sort of bend it out of shape. I'm just being gentle, but I'm giving it a little, you know, just snugging the beads up a little. So as I'm going around, let's say I've got 4, let's put one more on, 5. Yeah, you have 4 or 5 beads on. Now I want to make an area for the point of my stone. So instead of picking up a bead and sewing through the next one, I'm just going to sew through the next delica without any beads on, like that. And see, it's going to pull it in so that I have a space for the point of my stone. Then I'm just going to continue on adding 15-ohs until I get to the end. So I'll just let you do that on your own. So add 15-ohs until you get to the end, step up, and then meet me back here and we'll continue. Okay, we're back. So putting on the last 15-oh to step up. So here I'm exiting this white, the white delica. I'm just going to sew through the next white one and then that little 15-oh on the diagonal. And that's going to step me up. That's what it looks like. Now we're going to start adding more 15-ohs. So I'm just going to pick up a 15-oh and sew through the next sticking out 15-oh. I'm just giving it like a little snug pull, not a lot. So I'm coming up to where I left, remember I left that, I just sewed these two together, I didn't put a bead there. All you're going to do is pick up a 15-oh at this point. You're exiting this 15-oh. You're just going to hop over to the next sticking out 15-oh. Like that. And see how that pulls that in? So that's going to, already it's looking, you know, like a teardrop shape. And then you're just going to continue adding your 15-ohs on. So I'll just let you do that. So go all the way down to the end, step up, and then meet me back here and we'll continue. Last bead. So I'm just going to, I'm exiting here. I'm going to sew through this 15-oh and the one on the diagonal, like that, and I actually poked myself, like that, and that's going, and I'm just going to pull that tight, and I'm just going to leave that thread, okay? So just leave this thread, go to your tail thread and thread your needle, and then come back and we'll continue. Okay, we're back. So I have threaded my, took off my stop bead, threaded my needle, and I'm exiting on the back. You'll be exiting this a white delica. You want to get to this outside round, so you just want to sew through this gold one. Now we can put some more beads on, but before we do that, see how I'm holding it? I'm going to put my stone in face down. So, and I want that point of my stone to hit, just to be right where that gold delica is at the top. And I'm just going to, it's not going to stay right now. I'm just going to pull a little bit with pull my back thread. And I'm just going to look at the front. Looks beautiful. So you just want to hold it there while you put your beads on. And it may move a little bit, but don't worry about it. You can always move it back. It's very forgiving at the moment. So see how it's sitting in there like that? The point just about facing that gold, that very top bead. Now you're just going to add 15-ohs. So just put on a round of 15-ohs, holding your stone. You can adjust it as needed. You know, if the stone moves or falls out, you know, just put it back or just play with it until it sits nicely. And you're just going to do that all the way around. And then step up and come back and we'll continue. Okay, we're back. So going to step up. So here's my last 15-oh. I'm going to sew through this gold one and the 15-oh on the diagonal. You're going to pull in. And you know, while you're doing it, you can kind of press down on your stone a little bit just to seat it beautifully. I mean, you could really play with it a little bit, but I think it's looking just great. So now we've stepped up. Going to add another round of 15-ohs. Just going to change it a little bit when we get to the top. You know, the part where we the point is. So I'll just go with you to that point. So just adding 15-ohs all the way around. All right, so I'm getting to the point here. Now, you know, just depending on your stone, because we are using a different stone than a Swarovski, and sometimes stones are just slightly on different sizes or depths. So at this point, if you can add a bead here, like you're exiting here, add a bead, sew through this one, then, and it fits nicely, it hugs the stone, that's perfect. I'm finding with these stones, if I don't put on a bead and I just sew through the next bead, it just fits. It's a perfect fit. And I find that with Swarovski too, but then some stones, you know, or depending on how tight you're beading that day or loose, you may fit a bead in there or you may not. So, you know, always think about that because, you know, when I do it, I give you what's working best for me at the moment, and generally it should work. But if it's not, then, you know, just don't add a bead there. And see, so I didn't add a bead, and now the stone is nice and snug. No problem, looks great. All right, so just get that done and step up, and then we'll sew the threads in. Okay, we're back. So this is what a bezel looks like, and it came out great. So I'm just gonna sew my threads in. I don't often show this, so I thought I would just, you know, give you a little look at that. So I'm exiting a 15-oh here. I'm just going to sew through this 15-oh on the diagonal. Just wanna get to the delicas. I'm gonna sew through this one. Well, maybe I'll go through one more. So on the diagonal, you don't want any thread showing. Like that. I'm going to sew up through this one, so the one right next to it, and then back down through the one the previous one, and then this one on the diagonal. That's going to lock your thread right into place. Okay, so that's how I always end my peyote, so that you know, it locks the thread into place, and I don't have to worry about it. All right, so get that done and come on back, and we'll continue. Okay, we're back. So let's continue on. So we're going to get to this part now. So what we're going to do is thread your needle with about, I don't know, 2 feet, 2 to 2.5 feet of thread. Put on a stop bead in the middle. Now I'm going to look here, and I'm going to kind of slice my stone right down the middle on my bezel, and you see these 3 white delicas are sort of centered at the bottom, 1, 2, and 3. I want you to go down here and sew through the second one of those. So here there are 3 here and 3 here. Sew through this one. So you're going to be using, you're going to span over this bead, and this bead to get your pearl on. So just put your needle through like that. I'll leave it for a second. And if you're not quite centered, you can still kind of massage your bezel a little bit to sort of move it like a fraction, you know, to get it in place. So here I've just gotten this on. Then I'm going to pick up an 11-oh, a 4mm pearl, and an 11-oh. So exiting this guy, I'm going to skip that center one, this white one, and I'm going to sew through the next white one. So that's coming out of this one, skipping that one, sewing through this one. That's going to place our pearl. Should place it pretty much centered. Pull so my stop bead hits. So just like that. There we go. All right, and you're just going to, I'm just going to actually let you get to that point and then we'll continue. We're back. So this is what I have so far. So I have my 11-0 pearl 1101 and I have 2 threads coming out. So you take your stop bead off. Well, you don't have to take it off yet, but eventually, you know, in a minute or two, you're going to take it off. So we're going to take the thread, the working thread that we were using. You're going to pick up an 11-0 and you're going to do a little stitch in the ditch. So we're exiting this white 11-0 just through the white beads. So through the next white one with an 11-0. And you're going to do that till you get to the top. Like that. I'm going to put one on here, like that, and I'm going to go through this one. So just going through the top, you're going to place one at the top there. You see how it's kind of, you know, it's a little wobbly, but don't worry about it. Another one, just to get those situated. So get to this point and then we'll take off the stop bead and we'll go the other way. Okay, we're back. So I've taken off my stop bead. I'm just going to leave this other thread there and I'm going to do stitch in the ditch up to the top here. So I'm going to pick up an 11-0. I'm exiting this delica, the white delica. I'm just going to sew through the next one and give it a pull so it pulls everything into place. Through the next one. Picking up an 11-0 through the next white delica. Again. Okay, this is what we have. So this is the bead that the other thread is coming out. We want to put another 11-0 here. So I'm just picking up an 11-0. I'm just going to sew right through that next white delica. On that last stitch in the ditch, you can always pull this other thread a little bit because we're going to use them. Now I'm exiting this 11-0, this 11-0 delica. You just sew right through that stitch in the ditch bead, right? That's on the other side of it. That's what you have. I'm going to pick up a pearl, 4mm pearl, sew through the next stitch in the ditch. Pick up another 4mm pearl, sew through the next stitch in the ditch. Like that, give it a little pull. This is what we have so far. Give each side a little pull. And then just get to this point, come back, and we will work our threads around so that we're coming out of the pearls. All right, see you in a minute. Okay, so what we want to do at this point is we want to have, and let's see, okay, here's one of my units. We want to have both the threads that we're working with coming out of the inside of the pearl. See, like that? So we're just going to maneuver around a little bit with each thread until we get there. So here I am exiting this 11-0 right here. I'm going to bring my needle right through that delica underneath, you know, that white delica, like that. You can switch to a smaller needle here if you need to. Make sure you don't get caught around your pearl. Like that. I'm going to sew back up through the white one next to it. I'm going to go through this gold one. I'm going to the other side again because I really wanted to make sure that this is going to be a very secure connection. So here, working to the other side, just by going through the beads on the diagonal and through this one. All right, so I'm exiting this gold one that's next to this 11-0, you know, the stitch in the ditch bead. I'm going to go right up through the stitch in the ditch bead, like that. And then through this pearl. So that kind of maneuvered me around, so I'm exiting the interior hole of that pearl. So I'm going to do the same thing with this side. I'm just going to maneuver around until I come through the pearl and up out the interior hole of the pearl. So I can just let you get that done, and then we'll come back and continue. Just back for a second. So I just went on the diagonal, just like I did with the other thread, in this direction, and then until I exited this delica, and then I'm going to just reverse direction by going through this 11-0, like that, and then right up through the pearl. So now we've crisscrossed our threads, and we have our unit ready. So here, just like this one. So now you're just going to go on and make as many as you need, just like that, for the entire length of your bracelet. Now I used 6, and you can, for my, let me measure it. So 6 of them will give me about 5.5 inches, 5.5 inches of beading. Let me pull that a little bit for you. There we go. Okay. So here, I'll show you on my measure. So 5 1/4, almost 5.5 inches. And then whatever your clasp is, mine, lengthens it to 7 inches. Now, you can always lengthen this part as well. Mine was a little short, so you can always lengthen this part to make it a little longer. And if you need a bigger bracelet, like an 8-inch bracelet, you may need another one of the fancy stones. All right, so get your length done, and then come on back and we'll continue. Okay, we're back. So now we're going to sew our units together. So I've sewn a few of them together, but let's pretend we just have these two. It's the same for each one. So here you have your unit with the 2 threads coming out. You're going to attach that to with the 2 pearls here. You're going to attach that to the 1 pearl on the end of the other unit. So just going through with 1 thread, going through the other side with the other thread. I'll give you the thread path there. That's what it looks like. Just give it a pull. Just like that. Now what I'm going to do at this point, so one of my threads is exiting a pearl. I'm going to sew down through this stitch in the ditch, so this 11, that 11-0, and then I'm going to go through this delica, so that white delica that's right there. See that one? Like that. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to pull with the other thread. Let me grab this thread. There we go. Exiting here. I'm going to sew down this 11-0 and through that white delica that's sort of underneath there, just to lock everybody into place, and then pull. This is what I have so far. And then you're going to sew these threads in. Now, if you want, if you're worried about this not being reinforced enough for you, you can go, kind of work your way through the beads again and reinforce it. But these pearls are so close together, and it's such a nice connection that I think it's fine the way it is. But you want to reinforce everything now on your bezel. So I'm exiting this delica, this white delica. I'm just going to sew through this gold one on the diagonal. I'm going to sew through this white one on the diagonal. See how I'm going down through the beads here? This gold one, this white one. You can even go further if you want, but now what I'm going to do is I'm going to reverse direction, and I'm going to sew through that white delica that's right next to the one I'm exiting. And if it's tight getting in there, you can just go down another bead and go through, the next white one or the blue one. And so, in reverse direction there. But see how I'm exiting here, this delica right here? I reverse direction by going through the delica that's right next to it. I'm going to make sure my thread doesn't get caught on any beads. When I pull, see what happens? Give it a nice pull, and then go back down this white one again. So now you've sort of locked that into place, but going around a couple of times. Going through this one. Another one on the diagonal. And this one. Another one on the diagonal. You can do the exact same thing here. You can sew through the gold delica on the other side, come around, lock that into place. Then you're just going to do the same exact thing. Pull this thread with the other thread, do the same exact thing on this side, and you're going to do that for each one until you have all your units sewn together. So get that done and then come on back and we will put on the clasp. We'll do the outside embellishment and then we'll be done. Here we're back. So we're going to add the clasp first before we do the outside embellishment. And I think the best thing to do here is add a thread on either end to put your clasp on, you know, even if you have some threads left over, because, you know, if you break your clasp, then you have an intact bracelet. You can always add another clasp. So here I've added a thread on this end already, and I'm going to put the loop on right now. Just move that out of the way. So I didn't have this particular, I couldn't find this. I have searched Etsy, internet, bead websites, you name it, and I cannot find this clasp. I love this clasp. I bought it many years ago, and I have it in 3 different colors, and I just think it looks so pretty with this bracelet. So I couldn't find it. It's got the loop, you know, in this sort of this direction, so you can just put 2 beads on either side, and I just love that look. So I'd had this clasp, which I love as well, but the hole is not in the right direction for me, so I just put a jump ring on, and I put a 6mm jump ring on so that the pearls will fit right in the jump ring and you won't see any thread. So the clasp won't be sitting on thread, it'll be sitting in between the beads. So here we go. Here's my clasp. I'm going to take a 3mm pearl. I'm going to sew through just like that. So my thread is exiting the inside hole of one of these pearls. I'm just going to sew through the clasp. Then I'm going to take another 3mm pearl and sew through the inside hole of the other pearl. And when I pull it through, you want to make sure that they sit nicely next to one another, and the ring is held on by the pearls, not by the thread. So you don't want the thread to come out like that. So you have to hold it, push it through. And if you have a, you know, well, you can't use a closed jump ring, but this is if you can use a locking jump ring, that works really well too. So do you see how it's holding there? I'm holding it with my hand, and I'm making sure as I put the clasp on that ring is staying in between the beads. So I'm exiting the pearl. I'm going to sew through the 11-0 under the pearl, like that. Still making sure that ring is there. And then I'm going to start sewing through delicas. So through, let's see, can we go through this one? There we go. So through this one. There we go. And I'm pulling tight so that ring stays right there. And then through this delica. So just like we've done all delicas on the diagonal, I'm going to go down a bit. Like this. I'm going to go down quite a bit, and then I'm going to reverse direction like we did earlier when we attached the units, and go down a bit, reverse direction, and that way you're going to have a nice tight clasp. And this, you can, if you use this a regular jump ring, you can always even take the clasp off if you want, add a different clasp. So that's sort of a good idea too. So that the clasp is being held on by the pearls and it's not pulling on a thread. All right, so get that done and come on back and we'll do the other side. Okay, let's get the toggle bar on. So we're gonna do this little herringbone toggle here. So I have put my 6mm jump ring on this toggle as well, so the jump ring is facing the way I want it to face. Threaded my needle with about, I don't know, 1.5 feet, a little bit more of thread. Put on a stop bead, left enough of a tail to sew in. I want to exit this bead right here, so I'm just going to go back a few beads just to sort of anchor my thread while I'm working. So I'm going to end up coming out of this white one, this white delica right there, and then up through this 11-0 seed bead right before the pearl. That's my tail thread. We'll sew that in later. I'm going to pick up 4 11-0s, and I'm going to sew through the other 11-0 on the other side of the pearl. And this is going to leave a space at the top, but that's what I want, because that's where we're going to start our herringbone over there. So here we've come through that 11-0. Now I want you to anchor this side a bit. So come through the delica and just kind of leave that with that little space there a little bit. And then I'm going to reverse direction through this delica right here. I just want to go around the other, I want to get to the other side again. And if you pull too tight, they're all going to like push together like that. So kind of leave it like sort of a little bit loose right there. So all I'm going to do is just sew through the delicas until I get to the other side again. Getting used to doing that, huh? So I'm going to end up through this white one and then up through, just dig in there, this white one underneath the 11-0 and up through the first 3 of your 11-0s. And so it will sort of go, the pearl will sit slightly on top, yes, which this is perfect. So you want it behind it a little bit so that it looks kind of like that. And just let you get to that point and then we'll start the herringbone. Okay, let's start the herringbone. So I'm exiting here. Just going to pick up 2 11-0s. I'm just going to sew down through the 2 on the other side. Like that. Just kind of let those pop over. I'm going to sew right through the pearl and back up these 3. So I want to make sure this is sturdy here. This is what I have so far. Pick up 2 11-0s. Now you're going to go down this one on the other side and then back up these 2. Do that one more time with you. Pick up 2 11-0s. Sew through this one and then up, I'll move my thumb in a second, up through these 2. And you just want to do that for, as long as you need your clasp, and don't do what I did and make it a little short. So make sure it's long enough, put it around your wrist, before we get to putting on, the actual clasp part. So get your herringbone done and then come on back and we'll continue. Okay, we're back and now we're going to add the toggle bar. So here's the end of my herringbone. I just picked up a 3mm pearl, went through the ring, pick up another 3mm pearl. I'm just going to sew down through like several of the herringbone stitches. So that's how I'm going to connect. Ouch. You want to make sure that your ring is situated right in between the beads. So you might have to play with a little bit to get it to stay there. So get in there, you. Push it down. Here we go. Alright, so you want to make sure that it's sitting right in there. And it may pop out, so you might have to, pop it in again. I'm just going to reverse direction. So here I'm exiting this herringbone stitch down here. I'm just going to go through all the beads again. And then I'm going to pop through the pearl. Make sure that you can see that. The ring. The other pearl. Down. I'm going to go down just 3 stitches. I think I went down 4 before. Like that. Let me just make sure that's sitting nicely. And you want to make sure it's sitting beautifully. And then go up the 3 on the other side. So you can do that again. Pop through the pearl and the ring. Down the pearl and several stitches again. Okay, until you feel it's nice and secure. So my ring is in between the pearls. Make sure it's nice and straight. So my ring is sitting in between the pearls now. That's fine. If you want, you can go around again, or at this point you can just keep going down and then sew just go down through all the seed beads and sew around your bezel again. I just think it's great, really good to connect it to the bezel. And there you go. So you have your other end on. All right, so get that done, come on back. The last step is just to put on the embellishment, and that's super easy. See you in a minute. Okay, we're back and we're almost done. So let's get this embellishment around the edges done. So thread your needle, a couple of feet of thread. You want to just make sure you have enough thread that you can put on a stop bead. Half of it's going to go down one side, half of it's going to go down the other to put our embellishment on. So I've sewn through the pearl and that 11/0 under the pearl. All I'm going to do here is pick up an 11/0 and sew through all the stitch and the ditch beads. So we're not going through any of the bezels anymore. So just like this. And when we get to the pearl, to this area, we're going to sew through the 11/0 and the pearl, like that. And then you're going to take an 11/0 and you're going to sew through this 11/0. So it kind of places that 11/0 here, which covers up any thread that might be showing. Just think it, kind of finishes off nicely. You're just going to do that all the way down, like that, on both sides until you have all your bezels embellished, and then sew your threads in and come on back and we'll finish up. Okay, we're back and we're done. So here are our beautiful bracelets. Here's the necklace. Here's one of the earrings. I have to wait for more of my stones. I threw this ring on because it's pretty, but I think we could do a ring just with the teardrop. I think that would be beautiful too, but I think it all looks nice. So here we go. Here's our bracelet. I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you have fun making this. Post it on Facebook. Make it in all different colors. Absolutely adore these stones. They really worked very beautifully. All right, so take care and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.